Добрый день, уважаемые слушатели. На прошлом занятии мы с вами прошли политермические разрезы четверных систем, которые были построены с помощью программы Термокал. А сегодня мы закрепим эти знания и начнем наши видеоуроки по программе Термокал. И первое это будет вводное видео, сам принцип работы, на чем он основан. Сейчас я настрою настройки, сделаю все. И начнем смотреть.
Welcome to ThermoCalc. This video will introduce you to the software and show you how to set up your first calculation in the graphical mode. If you have ThermoCalc, open your software now so that you can follow along. This is how the software looks the first time you start the program. If your software looks like this, you are in console mode, so click the Switch to Graphical Mode button. In the graphical mode, the home screen includes several icons to help you use the software. At the top, you will find resources to help you learn about the program, such as a Getting Started guide and the online help. Below that, you will find templates that help you set up the calculations in the various calculators and add-on modules. The easiest way to set up a calculation in ThermoCalc is to use one of the templates. In this video, I will show you how to set up a one-axis equilibrium calculation. So click on the one-axis template. When you do this, you will notice that several icons, called nodes, appear in the project pane. In ThermoCalc, you are always working with a project. Each project consists of a set of linked activity nodes with a My Project node at the top. When you click on a template, the program automatically adds the nodes you need for that type of calculation. After this video, you can click through each of the templates to see which nodes are included for that calculation type. But most often, it is a system definer, a calculator, and a table or plot renderer. In order to set up the calculation, you must configure each node, which we will do in this video. We used a template to generate the nodes, but you can also add them manually. If you right-click on any node, the top option in the menu is a context-sensitive list showing which nodes you can add. For instance, from the My Project node, you can add a system definer, the 3 calculators that do not require a system definer, and experimental data files, if you have them. From the System Definer node, you can add all of the calculators that require a system definer. And from the Calculator node, you can add a table or plot renderer. In this way, you can set up complex calculations in ThermoCalc by adding multiple nodes and linking them together. But you may always find it easiest to start with a template. For our calculation, we will begin by clicking on the System Definer node. The first step in configuring a calculation is always to select your databases. From the Databases drop-down menu, select the FE Demo database. This is a free demo database, so you should have it in your list. The next step is to select the elements from the periodic table. Only elements included in the selected database can be selected. The rest are grayed out. Select iron first, and then carbon. The next step in setting up a calculation is to set the composition. Notice that iron is grayed out and cannot be changed. This is because it is dependent and will balance the system to 100%. The first element you select from the periodic table becomes the dependent element. Set carbon to 0.5, which will automatically set iron to 99.5 mass percent. Our system is now defined, so click on the Equilibrium Calculator node. This node is where we set the conditions of the calculation, such as temperature, pressure, and system size. Change the temperature unit to Celsius. We will use the default values for pressure and system size, so make sure your values match mine. Note that the values you set here must be within whatever range you set under the axis definitions, which we will do in a moment. Notice that the composition we set in the system definer propagated here. Under calculation type, leave one axis selected. Under axis definitions, we will leave the quantity as temperature, but set the range from 400 to 1800. Double check that the temperature is within this range, which it is. We will leave the rest of the values the same. Finally, click on the Plot Renderer node. This is where you configure the plot by selecting the axis variables, axis type, and scaling. Under the x-axis, change the temperature unit to Celsius. Under the y-axis, select volume fraction of phase, all phases. Our calculation is now set up, so we will perform it. Right-click on the plot renderer node and notice that you can select Perform Now. In ThermoCalc, when you perform an activity node, all the nodes above it in that sequence will also be performed. For example, if you right-click on the Equilibrium Calculator node and select Perform Now, it would perform that node and the System Definer, but not the plot renderer node. This can be useful when you have more complex calculations with a lot of nodes. Additionally, the My Project node will perform all the nodes in the entire tree, which is useful if you have more than one branch and you want to run them all. For our calculation, we want to perform all the nodes, so right-click on the Plot Renderer node. Notice that you also have the option to Perform Later, which allows you to perform the calculation at a later time. This is helpful if, for example, you have a time-consuming calculation that you want to run overnight. We will choose Perform Now, so click that option. You may notice that there is activity happening in two windows we haven't looked at yet. The first is the scheduler, which shows you the projects that are currently being performed, as well as projects that are scheduled to be performed in the future. The other is the events log. This gives you information about ongoing calculations, warnings, and error messages. The events log can be especially useful if a calculation is not working as you assume it should. Once the calculation is complete, a plot will appear in the results pane. If you hover your mouse over the plot, a text box will appear with information about the plot at that point. For example, you can see that at about 750 degrees, FCCA1 makes up about 81% of the material. If you right-click and select Add Label, you can add labels to the plot. I will add the phase name, and then click OK. If you drag the label, an arrow will appear. You can zoom into a plot by dragging your mouse down and to the right, or zoom out by dragging your mouse up and to the left. If you right-click and select Properties, you can configure the plot by setting the font size, line thickness, plot area, and more. You can also save your plot settings by clicking Save As under Theme for Plot Settings. This will save your settings for future use and is especially useful if you need consistent-looking plots for presentations, publications, collaborations, or anything else. You can also change the line colors by clicking on the lines. Plots can be exported in a variety of formats by right-clicking and selecting Save As. You can also set the image quality for the plots. Results can also be viewed in the form of a table. There are two ways to do this. The first is by clicking the Table View button, then clicking Perform at the bottom center of the program. Your results will be displayed in Table View. The other way is by adding a table renderer. Right-click on the Equilibrium Calculator node, hover over Create New Successor, and select Table Renderer. Here you can add additional variables to the table, making this feature quite powerful. To see the results, click Perform at the bottom center of the program. Again, your results will be displayed in the form of a table. Table data can be exported in a variety of formats by right-clicking and selecting Save As. You can also save entire projects to come back and work on them later or share them with others. To save this project, either click the Save icon or use the File menu to select Save Project or Save Project As. You can choose to save projects with the results calculated. This will save you time when reopening the project, but it can also result in large project files. ThermoCalc also allows you to save notes with your projects. Simply click on the paper icon at the bottom of the screen, and a box will appear where you can record information. I will make a quick note about this project, and then click OK. Notice that the paper icon is now darker to show that this project includes notes. Your notes will save with the project they were calculated in, so they will be available every time you open this particular project or share it with others. As a next step in learning ThermoCalc, we recommend that you use the many examples.
Это у нас было первое вводное занятие по термокалк, по построению. Это было у нас первое вводное занятие по термокал, по построению, да, и на следующих видео, на следующих занятиях мы разберем дальше. Спасибо.